WWE presents its Backlash pay-per-view live this Sunday with all live matches except for Edge and Randy Orton, which has already been taped. Apparently last weekend the match was already taped. Edge and Orton in what may well be the greatest wrestling match ever. Well, of course, it's not going to be. I don't think anybody actually believes that. But I would expect it to be a very good pro wrestling match nonetheless. This is a special Friday edition of Sound Off Extra live right here on YouTube. I am the Solomonster. Thank you for joining me on a Friday afternoon, a rare Friday afternoon, but I'm so glad that people are filtering on in. Still, you guys can join me here. I will take a few phone calls later on at the end of the stream for those of you who want to call in. I'll put the number on the screen a little bit later on. Talking Backlash and Backlash only. We're talking Backlash predictions here on this screen, or stream, I should say. Super chats are open. You can drop one if you'd like, whatever you want. Of course, if you want the special amounts, they're down below in the description for those of you who are interested. And of course, as always, hit the like button, hit the sub button if you are not subscribed to the channel. Hopefully you guys got the alert and the notification for this stream. This kind of came together last minute. But when you are subscribed, you will find out, you will be alerted when I do go live like I am right now. If I wake up in the morning and I decide, you know what, I feel like going live, you might not know unless you're subscribed to the channel. So please go ahead and do that. Now, Backlash is Sunday. As soon as Backlash goes off the air, I'm going to be right back with you again live right here on the YouTube channel, whatever time that is, 10 o'clock, 10:30, whatever it is. I'll be right back here for a full recap of the show. It may well be the greatest wrestling stream ever. I don't make claims like that. I don't like doing that. It's just not my thing. But it won't just be a great recap because of me. It's going to be a great recap because of this. Take a look at that on your screen right now. WrestleRumble.com. WrestleRumble.com is giving away not one, not two, but three. Yes, 3 replica championship belts as Vader drops that small child. I don't know whose kid that is. I just remember seeing that GIF for the first time. I said, that's a super chat. I don't know whose child that is. I don't know how old the child is now. Perhaps he's watching the stream. Maybe the child gets to watch the stream now and he gets to watch himself get dropped right on his ass by Vader. That would be kind of amusing, but like I said, 3 replica championship belts are being given away this Sunday to one very lucky winner. It is the big 3-belt bash, winner take all. It is winner take all. All it takes is one entry. Now you can enter as many times as you'd like. One entry is $1. That's it. $1, not young bucks, $1. For $1, you could take home the ECW World Title, the Big Gold WCW Heavyweight Championship, and my personal favorite, the classic Winged Eagle WWE Championship belt. All for just $1 if you are lucky enough to be chosen. I wish I could get in on this, but alas, I cannot, because I will be the one hosting the raffle on Sunday, and that would be a conflict of interest, of course. So I will be hosting the raffle live right here on my Backlash stream, and I will be picking one winner at random. So you have until Sunday at 7 p.m. to enter. Just go to WrestleRumble.com, and you may walk away with all 3 titles. It's not a bad deal. That might be their best deal that I've seen yet. That's no joke. That is no joke. We have a lot of people having lunch. Maybe they're on their lunch break at work joining us here right now live. Michael Doherty was hitting up the super chat before I even went live. Says he's always in bed when I go live. I feel badly, but he's all the way over in Ireland, so thank you, Michael. Tibbs, 316 with the $20. What's going on, Tibbs? Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you as well. Kevin, oh my God, lunch with Solo. Mike Ambleton, thank you for the $2. Can you loan me $2? Well, you should have thought about that before you did the super chat drop. Mr. Hess, thank you for the 10. And Elijah Thomas joining us this afternoon as well. Also listening on his lunch break. I hope you're eating something good. I hope you're having lunch for me, because I didn't even have lunch. I decided to do this stream instead. Let's run through this Backlash card. We have new women's tag team champions, two-time WWE women's tag team champions. They are Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss. They will defend their titles, or Sasha Banks and Bayley, I should say. Sasha Banks and Alexa Bliss do not want to be tag team partners. I'm sure legitimately they do not want to be tag team partners. What is this, Battle Bowl? What am I doing here? Sasha Banks and Bayley, they defend their titles against Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss and the Iconics, both of whom, of course, are former women's tag team champions. The Iconics have done absolutely nothing. They've done nothing to deserve a shot at these tag team titles. But look, such is the state of the women's tag team division in WWE. It is very weak. You know, now it's getting a little bit of shine. It's getting a little bit of focus right now because they're working the Sasha and Bayley story into it. You know, they've had their issues, but now they're the champions, and can they coexist? Or is there going to be some kind of big falling out? You know, that's going to be the story to follow in the weeks ahead, assuming they hold the championships for that long. But what it makes for is a very weak tag team division. There has not been a major focus on these titles that really is in line with all of the hype that surrounded it. If you remember, I mean, it was like a movement. On social media, it was a movement. People would come to the buildings and they would bring, you know, signs with them. We want women's tag team titles. And Stephanie McMahon would be asked about it. And she'd say, oh, we hear you. We hear you. You know, it's coming. Just, you got to wait. You got to wait. Well, then we got the women's tag team titles. And now here we are, you know, over a year later. And what do they really mean? You know, how have they been treated? Have they been treated in a way that makes you think that the company really values those women's tag team titles? Doesn't seem like it to me. If they did, we'd have half a dozen teams in this division. And so we have 3 teams now chasing after these, championships. But when you're the Iconics and you have a weak division, you get to come back and not do much. And just like that, you've got tag team title opportunity at a pay-per-view. I mean, hell, they lost on Monday. Billie Kay tapped out to Asuka. The Iconics lost on Monday. They couldn't even get a big win to explain their participation in this match coming into the show. They tapped out on Monday night. And yet here they are getting a championship match. But they did do a match on Monday to open the show. On Raw, it was actually the Iconics, Sasha and Bayley. They both lost to Charlotte and Asuka, who before they wrestled in the main event on Monday, were tag team partners at the beginning of the show. I don't think putting the belts on Sasha and Bayley was a long-term play. I don't see them being the champions for months. But I also don't see the point in just having them lose it back to Nikki and Alexa. I mean, I think that would be kind of dumb. At least keep it on them a few weeks. You know, play things up a little bit more. And if they're going to give the belts to the Iconics, I mean, for God's sakes, you might as well just freeze the belts, put them in the freezer, take them out in a year. Maybe the division will be in better shape than it is right now. I mean, the belts were a joke when they were on the Iconics. They were treated like a joke. The Iconics were treated like a joke. Nobody can take them seriously. So putting the belts on them, what does that accomplish? The belts are right back where they were before when people were begging to get the belts off the Iconics. Nothing has changed. I mean, they were gone for months. They came back. No different than they were when they left. Playing the same characters, the same attitude, played up for laughs more than anything else. I see no sense in taking these titles off Sasha and Bayley, so I'm predicting a win for them. But they don't hold on to them for too much longer. We have Jeff Hardy taking on Sheamus. This, of course, has been building now for weeks and weeks and weeks. The Jeff Hardy comeback vignettes, showing his history in WWE and talking about his drug issues and getting arrested and showing the mugshots. And then it was the fall of Jeff Hardy, then led to the redemption. They told this redemption story. And every week, Sheamus would be, just grow sicker and sicker and sicker of hearing about Jeff Hardy. And finally, they matched up in the first round of the Intercontinental title tournament, right? They had a match. And Jeff rolled him up and got the win. And that didn't sit well with Sheamus. And then, of course, they did the angle with the car accident. I gave my thoughts on that already. I did not hate on it the way that other people did. I did not make excuses for it being tactful or classy, because it wasn't. It was something of a tasteless angle, but at least it played into the story. They told us that Jeff had these issues, and here's Sheamus, the evil heel, trying to, frame him for something that he clearly did not do. They did the big reveal where Jeff passed all of his tests and he, came back to the building. And if they would have just left that alone, you know what? I would have been okay with that. But now, there is a spoiler on an angle that apparently is going to air on television tonight. And I thought about waiting and doing the stream later tonight. I didn't want to wait just to watch the angle on TV. But for those of you who don't want to know anything that happens on Smackdown tonight, you might want to tune this out. What is not a spoiler is that WWE has already announced there will be a contract signing for the match between Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. So we know there's going to be a contract signing on television tonight. What you may not know is how the contract signing is going to play out. Now, this report comes to us from Sportskeeda. Sportskeeda.com had a report that reads as follows. I'm just going to read you exactly what, people have told them is apparently going to happen on TV tonight. Until we see it, it's just a rumor, but apparently this is what's going to happen on SmackDown. So we have a contract signing. And Jeff Hardy is accusing Sheamus, you're trying to ruin my life. You're trying to ruin my reputation. And Sheamus wants certain assurances. Before he signs the contract and agrees to the match with Jeff Hardy, he wants certain things to be guaranteed. He wants certain assurances to be made. And one of the things that the thing that he asked for is he demands that his opponent take a urine test or a drug test, for which a urine sample would be part of it. He wants Jeff Hardy drug tested before their match at Backlash. That's the crux of the angle. He is adamant that Jeff Hardy, you're a junkie. There's no way you can pass. You're going to fail. I'm not agreeing to this match until you take a drug test. I want a urine sample. I want all of this. I don't know if he asked for blood work. I don't know if he wants a CBC, check his hemoglobin and his hematocrit and his platelets. I don't know the extent to which Sheamus, what he's demanding here until I see it tonight. Jeff admits that he has a problem. Sheamus says, you have to take the test immediately. Right away. You've got to take this test. And it says that Sheamus just keeps poking the bear until finally Jeff Hardy, I guess he takes the urine sample and he throws it in Sheamus's face. So Jeff takes his cup of piss and throws it at Sheamus. And I guess that's how the segment ends, I guess. The way this reads to me is very strange, right? Because you read something like this. I mean, does Jeff pull his pants down right there in the middle of the ring and whip his dick out and start taking a leak into a cup? I mean, because if that's the case, I don't want to watch SmackDown tonight. I'll take a pass. I'll read someone's recap after the fact. I'll let all the other podcasters do their recaps tonight. And I think I'll take a pass on SmackDown if that's the case. But you read this and you would think, I mean, did they take a break and Jeff went to the back, or did he just whip it out right there in the middle of the ring in an empty performance center? You know what? I have no defense for this. Like I said, I defended the first part of this because, okay, he was framed. He didn't really do it. Then you can kind of move on from there. But this is just, we'll see how it comes across on TV. But I read this and this just sounds like garbage. This sounds like hot garbage. And there is no defense for this. Actually, you know what? Throwing urine on somebody sounds exactly like something Vince McMahon would get a kick out of. I shouldn't be surprised at all if that's the way it plays out on TV. This sounds exactly like the sort of thing Vince McMahon would laugh. He'd have like a nice belly laugh. Ah, ha, ha, ha. That's such good shit. And he would probably be very amused. It's the sort of thing Bruce, as well as he knows Vince, Bruce would write that into the show. Which worries me, given the news about Bruce and Paul Heyman and the big creative shakeup behind the scenes in WWE, which I will talk more about on Sunday's podcast. I'm not getting into that today. I have Sheamus winning this one. He's my prediction. Jeff got the win in their IC title tournament match. I don't think this is the end of it. Sheamus has to win one at some point. I think he wins on Sunday. And for better or worse, it leads to a third match between the two of them. Now that we're done talking about piss tests and drug tests, Let me say hello to John Falchetta, chiming in on the Super Chat, listening while grocery shopping. Hope you're wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart. Daz Knock, thank you for the $3. Primetime, 6 p.m. UK. Been listening for 7 years. Daft Cody with the $5 Super Chat. Huge fan. When I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Africa, the podcast was the only way I had to keep in touch with wrestling. Well, that's very cool. We got people all over the world who listen to this show. You're in the Peace Corps. You might be the first one, actually, who has written in to tell me that you were in the Peace Corps and you were listening to the show. And Stevie Hurley, thank you for the $10. They did the same drug test angle with Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon. Well, that makes it even worse. That makes it even worse. Because now they're recycling terrible storylines and angles. I don't think I was doing the podcast back then when they did that angle with Shawn and Vince, because they had their match in 2006. I started the podcast in 2007. That was a shit angle, and this sounds like a shit angle too. But that's even worse. If they're recycling shit angles, if you're going to recycle an angle, at least take an angle that was good. Don't take one that sucked the first time. Now, something like the Mr. America thing they did on SmackDown with the lie detector test. Every time Vince would tell a lie, it would buzz. Like, I thought that was funny. Like, that was just an innocent, kind of humorous little angle. You start getting into, like, you know, dropping mounds of excrement onto the Spirit Squad. Remember they did that whole angle? I mean, we've seen that multiple times where they've dropped literal, what's supposed to be shit on top of people. You're throwing urine on people. Well, I mean, what's next? Well, I think we know what's next. I can't really say it or I might get demonetized, but Silent to the Lambs, that's all I'm going to say. Hopefully we won't see that on TV. Apollo Crews defends the United States Championship against the former champion Andrade. On Monday, we had a triple threat match with Andrade, Angel Garza, and Kevin Owens to determine the number one contender, who would go on to meet Apollo Crews for the United States Championship. So we had a number one contenders triple threat match, and Andrade and Garza were getting into it at one point. They, Zelina Vega tried to step in between them, and she got knocked down. Anyway, the match ended with Garza eating a stunner from KO, but before Owens could go for the pin, Andrade drop-kicked him out of the way, and it was Andrade pinning Garza. And Andrade earned the right to challenge Apollo Crews and try to get his championship back. And so Apollo Crews is not going to lose the championship yet. I'm picking him to win. He's my pick to retain. Would not at all surprise me to see Angel Garza get involved under the pretense of him trying to help. Maybe he and Zelina Vega come down, or Zelina Vega might already be there. But here comes Garza. He tries to give the assist, but it backfires. Was it intentional? Clearly, there's issues building between Garza and Andrade, and maybe that's what leads to the loss. At least then they further that story along. But Apollo, I mean, come on. Apollo retains easily. Mr. Pro Wrestling, what's going on, Mr. Pro Wrestling? He's trying to get through work. Oh, I know that feeling. Been a fan for 5 years. Juan Ocampo. Shout out to his coworkers. We ain't got squat to do. Well, you listen to this podcast. Now I gave you something to do. Asuka defends the Raw Women's Championship against Nia Jax. Ever since Nia came back, Nia Jax last year had double ACL surgery, which is a major surgery. I mean, one ACL surgery is a major surgery. She had two. So that's a rough thing to go through and all the rehab and everything. But she had double ACL surgery. She was gone for a year. And ever since she came back, they've booked her like a monster. They've put her in the ring multiple times with poor Kairi Sane. Probably shaved 10 years off Kairi's career. The matches that that poor girl had with Nia. And she didn't win Money in the Bank. She was in it, but she didn't win it. Asuka won it. That turned out to be for the championship and not an opportunity at the championship because of Becky Lynch and her, stepping away. And so now Nia is the first challenger to Asuka's championship. And she will not be the last. Asuka is not losing the title. Asuka is my pick to retain. She's certainly not dropping the title to Nia Jax. I don't see it. These two have had some good matches together. If you remember their time in NXT, Asuka was just killing it in NXT. And she had a couple of matches with Nia that I remember as being pretty good. I know they had one of their matches was overseas. I don't know if it was a takeover special or not. I don't remember if it was in the UK or if it was in Japan. It was, I think, one or the other. But they had like an overseas match. I remember that, whichever one it was. I remember that being pretty good. That might have been their best one together. Their best match together. Now, that's going back a few years. We're probably going back 4 years at this point, 3 or 4 years. The point is, there is chemistry there. They have, in the past, had some good matches, and hopefully this will be one of them. On Monday, they gave Asuka and Charlotte over 25 minutes in the main event. So Charlotte goes from headlining NXT TakeOver on a Sunday to headlining Raw in a match that might have been longer on a Monday. So it was a good week for Charlotte. At least she's away from NXT now. But they had a 25-minute match on television that was pretty good, only to have Nia run down for the distraction. Charlotte booted Asuka in the face, ended up pinning her. Only she really didn't, because if you watch it, Asuka kicked out. I don't know if that was by design. I wouldn't think so. They just sort of ignored it. Charlotte won the match. That was kind of weird. I thought the match was really good. The finish was a fail. But the fact they had Charlotte win, I know it's Charlotte, so not shocking that she would win, but yeah, to me, the fact that they had Charlotte just pin Asuka that way in the middle of the ring tells me that she may be the one next in line, not Shayna Baszler. It may be Charlotte who's next in line to challenge Asuka for the championship. The story they're telling is that Asuka's never beaten Charlotte. I think the announcers flat out said that on Monday night. Or maybe Charlotte did in her promo, but Asuka has never pinned Charlotte Flair one-on-one. And so, the story they may be telling here is very similar to the one that they told with Becky Lynch, where Becky Lynch could not buy a win over Asuka, and Asuka was taunting her, and finally they had their rematch at the Royal Rumble, and Becky finally got that weight off of her shoulders, and she finally beat Asuka. And so maybe they're doing a similar story now where the shoe's on the other foot. And Asuka has to get to a point where she can be the one to beat Charlotte Flair, since Charlotte has beaten her in all these other matches, WrestleMania, all the matches they've had together. That may be the story that they're telling. So that could be the July pay-per-view match. I don't know what the name of the July pay-per-view is. Empty warehouse mayhem, whatever they want to call it. Maybe they're going to do Charlotte and Asuka as a stopgap. Maybe they'll get to Shayna Baszler later in the summer. Maybe that's the SummerSlam match. But I do think that has to be the destination. The destination should not be Charlotte just beats her again and wins her 11th title, or 12th title. I don't even know how many she's had. Is it 10? She's had 10. It's too much. I've lost count. I've lost count. But to get there, if that's the plan to get there, Asuka has to win here first. And I think she wins dominantly. It doesn't have to be a squash. That's not going to be a squash, but it should be a decisive win. She gets Nia in the Asuka lock, wins the match, refuses to let go, holds the move in, sinks it in for a few, a little while longer, a few extra minutes maybe, and that serves another purpose. It gets Nia off of TV. I went on a rant about this last week. Nia needs to go back to basics. So it gets her off TV. They could do an injury angle with her. It shows Asuka to be this dominant force. We've seen her act very goofy over the last several weeks. Let's see some of that killer Asuka come back out. Some of that NXT Asuka, or the Asuka we saw when she first came to the main roster. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to some serious shit. Let's put the jokes aside, and let's get back to basics with Asuka. Nia Jax can get back to basics in a different way. So that's what I'd like to see out of a finish here. Asuka retains. Please keep Charlotte out of this on Sunday. Please. To the wrestling gods above or below. Maybe they're below. It is the wrestling business after all. Probably below. Please keep Charlotte out of this. Please. No more interference. No more bullshit distraction finishes. We got enough of that on TV. We don't need that on the pay-per-view. Please. I know it's going to be very hard. It's going to be a very hard temptation for WWE to resist. Charlotte has no match on the show. Oh no! Charlotte doesn't have a match. Oh no! Yes, Charlotte has no match, and that's okay. That's all right. Charlotte does not have to be on the pay-per-view in a match. She'll be on the next one. She'll be at SummerSlam. She'll be on Raw every week. She'll be on SmackDown every week. How? Because she's Charlotte. All she has to do, apparently, is just show up. She's like that woman from I Dream of Jeannie. Click your heels, snap your fingers, boom. Charlotte appears. She's like that person in... What insurance commercial is that? It's not Flo from Progressive. It's some State Farm or whatever. That's like what Charlotte is. She's everywhere. But she does not need to get involved in this match on Sunday. Let's leave her out of the equation. You must resist the urge. You must. Lord Frieza says, my little Kuriza, his daughter, is sick. So here we are listening to the stream. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope Kuriza feels better. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Chris Quellman, thank you for the $5. I'm about to go get my first haircut in months. Well, lucky you, you lucky SOB. I'll pick one up for you too. Yeah, you do that. Smartass. What a smartass. Kevin, oh my God. Solo looking like New Jack today. Apparently, Kevin needs to see an optometrist once the non-emergency medical appointments resume. Raymond the Mountie Medina with the $18 drop. WWE managed to do the wrongs. What is that? The wrongs and the right with Asuka. I'm not sure what that means. Perhaps you can explain that in Sohail. Sohail, hey, will we see the greatest leg slap ever by Randy Orton? Most likely, yes. Orton is a very Orton's a very interesting guy. Orton just kind of says what he wants, and he could be the sort of person to ruffle a few feathers. He's been known to do that a time or two. He obviously ruffled feathers with Tommaso Ciampa and some of the NXT folks. I think he does it for shits and giggles. Probably pisses Vince McMahon off, unless they're doing a match, which I don't think they are. Then what the hell is the point of any of this? I think Orton just does it to amuse himself, to be honest with you. Master Stroke 01 with the $12 Mike Tyson super chat. He paid to bore Mike Tyson here. And says, longtime fan from Glasgow, Scotland. Another international listener. How long before do you think you will feel comfortable going to a show or another gathering at an arena? Lockdown starting to ease next week over here. Well, it's very different probably over where you are as compared to here. And I'm in New York. So as far as this country, I'm in like the worst hit state. A lot of these states are starting to open up. And you're seeing cases go up. So when you look at Texas and you look at Arizona and you look at some of these other states, all these people who are getting back to business, right? Everything's back to normal. Everything's back to normal. You're going to see some of these states shut right back down in the next few months. Guaranteed. 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 You gotta take your time. You gotta take your time. Don't rush into things. Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. As far as, am I going to feel comfortable going back to an event? Not for a while. Maybe next year. Probably not, though. I'm gonna take my time. I can watch, as long as I can watch it at home on TV, I'm good. I'm good. I'm going to miss going to a lot of these events. I'm going to miss going on the, if I was thinking about the Jericho Cruise, which that's not happening. That's not happening. I'm sorry, but yeah, that will not be happening next year. But I was looking forward to that. I was looking forward to going to some of these events, and that's just going to have to go. It's going to have to be on pause. I mean, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go flying here, flying there. Unless there's something I have to do. This right here is my home. This is my control center. This is my little studio. This is all I need. Me and you. I got the camera. I got the microphone. As long as I can communicate with you guys, I'm good. That's all that matters. Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman defends the Universal Championship in a handicap match against The Miz and John Morrison. As a general rule, I do not like handicap matches, and I think the only thing I hate worse than handicap matches is when you do a handicap match for your main championship. That's even worse than doing just any old handicap match on TV. I place the WWE title higher than the Universal title. But they're the two main championships of the two main brands, right? WWE title is on Monday Night Raw. Universal title is on SmackDown. Everything is sort of built, or it should be, built around those two championships. And the fact that you're going to have this guy defend it against, a tag team, I get that when you have a champion like Braun, he's a big, strong dude. So we see him on TV, he's lifting up cars, he's lifting up a van, or a school bus, or an ambulance, or he's tearing down the Titantron, all these different feats of strength. We get it. He's a big guy. One of the biggest guys they have on the roster. But this is what happens when you have a guy like that and you don't have a better opponent for him because Bray Wyatt went off to go make more little Bray babies. He and JoJo just had their second kid. JoJo did, but I think Bray deserves some of the credit for that. He gets a little bit of credit. So they just had their child. That's why they didn't go right into another match with Braun and Bray. But believe me, that issue is not over. And in fact, it's just something for Braun to do, I think, before he gets to The Fiend. That's all this is. I have people asking me, do you think that we're going to have Miz and Morrison, maybe they'll win the belt and, each guy will get to defend it. It'll be like co-champions or they'll do the Freebird rule. No, I don't want to see that. I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't want to see that. I have no interest in seeing that. John Morrison one day, perhaps, maybe as Universal Champion. I could see that. That I can see, more so than The Miz. John Morrison on his own, maybe one day. Miz and Morrison, the whole thing, you're going to make a tag team your champion. It's stupid. This match shouldn't even be happening. This match should not even be taking place. I mean, this is a feud. It's been the way it's been built up. Last week they blew up the man's protein shake. They blew up Braun's protein shake and made him mad. Ooh, they blew up his protein shake. It exploded in his face. And then it was dropping green goo from the ceiling. So the way they've built this championship match up is that they've turned the former tag team champions here into impractical jokers on television. And this apparently is supposed to get me interested in seeing them challenge for the top championship on SmackDown. Is this the great mind of Bruce Pritchard at work? Is this what we have to look forward to on Monday Night Raw now going forward? From the mind of Bruce? Something to wrestle with? You know what this is? This is something to go out back and toss into a dumpster. That's what this is. I have no interest in seeing this match. There's nothing that they can do to get me to care about this match on Sunday. There's nothing they can do. You can have the ghost of Randy Savage ascend to the top rope and drop an elbow, and maybe I would be mildly entertained. I'm not even sure that would be enough to get me interested in watching this match. I don't really have anything else to say about it. Braun's going to win. He's going to win. They're going to be done with this. This is just something for them to do on pay-per-view. And then he'll move on to The Fiend. Now, the only question is, does The Fiend make an appearance when it's over? Or do they hold off on that until SmackDown next week? But clearly, the issue between Bray and Braun... Bray and Braun is over. But The Fiend, that's a different story. And so I suspect that's going to be the next title defense that we see from him. Mr. Hess, what's going on, Mr. Hess? Thank you for the $5. From at Randy Orton on Twitter. 2 days until the hashtag greatest wrestling match ever at WWE Backlash. Tune in to see if we deliver or shit the bed. Well, there they go again. They're hyping the hell out of this match. And Deadpool, James Herrera chiming in with the $10. WWE telling us to watch the greatest wrestling match ever. What does the rest of the card mean to them? Not much, apparently. But don't worry, all these matches I'm running through right now, they're not going to be the greatest wrestling match ever, but they'll be we'll have the most average wrestling match ever. We'll have we'll have one of the good wrestling matches. Apparently none of these matches can compare to what we're going to see in the main event, which is too bad because now I get to talk about Drew McIntyre, who just so happens to be your WWE champion. He is defending his championship on Sunday. He'll be defending it against Bobby Lashley, who will have MVP in his corner. What's going on? Brad Gilmore joining us in the chat. Always good to see Brad. Down there from the Lone Star State. Hope he's doing well. So last Monday, it was Lashley and MVP taking on the Viking Raiders. It's Lashley and MVP against the Viking Raiders. Lashley won with a full Nelson on Eric. I'm sorry, Eric. I get them confused. One's bald, the other isn't. They really don't look alike, but I still get them confused. So he had the full Nelson on Eric. Then he put it on Ivar. Street Profits even couldn't pry him off. Street Profits were coming to the aid of their... What do you even call them? They're buddies, I guess. They've been like opponents in all these different contests and competitions over the last few weeks. So they tried to come to their aid. They couldn't pull Bobby Lashley off. And finally, in comes Drew McIntyre soaring in with a Claymore kick. He knocks Lashley out of the ring. Lashley, he didn't no-sell it, but he kind of like brushed it off. And the announcers even played it up and said, oh my goodness, look, he's back on his feet. Yeah, it's like the Claymore had no effect on him. So they're really going all in here to really push Bobby Lashley as being McIntyre's toughest challenge to date. And if you look at what they've done with Bobby Lashley in the last several weeks, they've given him this renewed push. MVP has been put with him as his manager, whatever they want to call him. They haven't dropped the stuff with Lana. She's still involved, but they've definitely toned it down from what they were doing. It's almost like somebody woke up, like a switch got flipped, and they said, hey, we got this big guy, and we've been doing all sorts of silly, nonsensical bullshit with him. Maybe we ought to get serious here, because I don't know that people are going to buy into him as a legitimate pay-per-view challenger for the WWE title. So let's turn him into a monster, and he'll put the full Nelson on people, and it's like the Master Lock, and they won't be able to break it, and you know, we'll get serious. We're going to actually push this guy as a serious threat. Well, that would have been nice if they were doing that, 6 months ago or a year ago, if that's who they wanted to push, instead of turning him into a complete joke and doing all this other nonsensical stuff with him. But he's definitely got this renewed push, and it makes me wonder, between this and Drew's push, who I think Drew's been doing very well, when I see him on television as far as him being the WWE champion, I think he fits like a glove in that role. He looks the part, he acts the part, he's a good worker, kind of checks all those boxes. I have nothing bad to say about the job so far that Drew McIntyre has done. But I look at the push that Drew has gotten, I look at the push now that Lashley has gotten, and I don't know the influence that Paul Heyman had over the push of Bobby Lashley or the push of Drew McIntyre. But it is something to start talking about. It is something to think about here, because now that Heyman is out of power, maybe as soon as this Sunday, it makes you wonder how they might want to shake things up. Does this increase the likelihood that Bobby Lashley might win the championship? Maybe. I'm more interested in what their pushes look like coming out of Backlash, because if Vince McMahon is on the warpath and he's very upset, the ratings are going down, Monday Night Raw, it's not performing to his standards. Now imagine what that must look like. Vince McMahon's standards for Monday Night Raw. Have you been watching this show for the last few years? What standards? There are no standards. There are no standards. But if he's on the warpath and he's unhappy, and he's making this huge creative change, is Drew McIntyre's championship run safe? Is he unhappy with the job that he's doing because the numbers aren't reflecting the job maybe that he's doing on television? I'm coming at it as a fan, as an observer. I like the job that Drew has done. If Vince is looking at the numbers and he doesn't like what he's seeing, maybe Drew's segments aren't doing well. I don't know, but who knows? Who knows what he's likely to do? That would be a shame. If he decided to shake things up and take the title off him, I think that would be a big mistake. I think that would be a very big mistake. Lana, I mentioned her a little while ago. I see her getting involved in this. I think she's going to factor into the finish in some way. And it could be the best way, honestly, to keep Lashley looking strong without putting the championship on him, because I'm picking Drew, and I don't think Drew should lose. I don't think Drew should lose the championship. Not yet. I don't care how they're pushing Lashley. You continue to push Lashley all you want to. I'm not saying don't push Bobby Lashley, but don't push him at the expense of Drew McIntyre. It's too soon, not yet, to take the championship off of him. But if you involve Lana and have some shenanigans going on, I mean, I can't say I'd be thrilled with that, but it would be a way to keep him strong. If he then loses, maybe it distracts him somehow. Again, I hate these distraction finishes, but if he is distracted, if he tells Lana stay in the back and she doesn't listen and she comes out anyway, and he turns into a Claymore kick, or two of them or three of them, he loses, but, did he really lose? He can blame Lana for the loss. Here's the other good part about it. Maybe then that's the impetus for him to finally break away from Lana and we can end this dumb storyline. They could get a divorce. Take him to divorce court. That's your next TV segment. Lana and Bobby Lashley in divorce court. But I just would not... I would not take the title off. I do think it's important to keep Lashley looking somewhat strong. Lashley still talks about wanting the match with Brock Lesnar. And I think that if you want to eventually do it, and I don't know why they haven't done it by now, but if eventually they actually do want to do Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, if it ever happens, and I'll tell you this, there's a better chance of Bobby Lashley getting the match he wants with Brock Lesnar than there is Matt Riddle. So of the two, if one guy was going to get the match, it probably isn't going to be Riddle. It would probably be Lashley. You got to keep the guy strong. You can't start beating Lashley over and over and over and over, because then there's no interest at all in doing something with him and Brock. So that could be a little roundabout way to keep him kind of strong. But Drew wins. Drew is my pick. Drew is my pick to retain the championship. Who else we got here? Who else do we got? Azo Smith with the $5. Once WWE announced that Tegan Nox and Shotzi were facing the winners, it was an instant giveaway that Banks and Bayley were winning. Is that an NXT spoiler? I still haven't watched it yet. I may not have to. Everybody is spoiling. Well, I guess it's not a spoiler if it already aired, so that's my fault. Coffee Brooklyn, or is it Coffee? You want me to say it that way? Coffee? I don't have that Brooklyn accent. I've lived in Brooklyn my whole life. I don't have the Brooklyn accent the way that some people do. Like Vince Russo, right? Vince Russo has a New York accent. Bro, I'm a New Yorker, bro. I'm not from Tennessee like Jim Cornette. TNA, they're in Nashville. I'm a New Yorker. I don't talk like that. Shoot me if I ever talk like that. But Coffee Brooklyn says, how's New York coronavirus situation? It's improving. It's getting better. Here in New York, it's actually improving. But, if you just open everything back up, it's going to go right back to the way it was. But it is getting better. It is getting better. Mastro Signs Printing with the $20 super chat. Keep up the great work. I'm the one who posted the picture of my son, Orange Cassidy, yesterday. Yeah, he shared a photo of his son with the Orange Cassidy pose, and all he needed was the denim jacket. He would have been a dead ringer. So that was very cool. And Jaded Cobain, thank you for the 5. You should do an episode of Quizzlemania with the guys over at Wrestle Talk and Parts Fun Known. Had a few people tweet me about this Quizzlemania thing. I'm not really privy to it. I might have to look into it, test my trivia strength. I'm open to it. I just don't know too much about it. Think I do well? Or are you guys throwing me to the lions here? What are you doing? What are you doing to me? And finally, I'm observing the chat. I want to show some love to the chat. People joining me here at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday. I want to show them some love. Finally here, in what may be the greatest wrestling match ever, Edge takes on Randy Orton. As I said earlier, the match is already taped. It's already done. It's already in the can. It's being edited, or it's already edited. This is what I want to read something to you. This is what Edge had to say in an interview last week. Did an interview with ESPN. And this is what he had to say about Vince McMahon and Paul Heyman both pitching him about a month ago on this whole concept of you and Randy are going to have the greatest wrestling match ever. Okay, this is what he said to ESPN. He said, I just laughed because, oh yeah, he's not the only one. I just laughed because I didn't think it was serious. And then I realized fairly quickly that it was. Then my reaction was, is this wise? Because anytime you say something is the greatest ever beforehand, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I don't ever want to think that way. I need to think the opposite of that. I can't control the court of public opinion. I need to do and be proud of the work that I put in. All I can do is take it as if it is all just a bonus and in a weird way a compliment, or it's a giant rib. I don't know. And then he said this. He said, would I have preferred they not build it as that? Absolutely. But I also know there are times where heels get dug in, into the sand, and there is no changing it. Edge is not a stupid person. He's not a dumb person. Everybody says dumb things. I already got into the comments he made after the WrestleMania match. That was dumb. But he's not a dumb man. Edge feels the same way that a lot of us feel about the promotion for this match. And, maybe more so since he's the one that's actually in the match. I don't have any pressure on me. I'm going to be sitting at home watching it. I'm not in the ring. There's no expectations of me going in there and being the greatest wrestler of all time or having the greatest wrestling match. The only thing I got to worry about is putting on the greatest wrestling recap on Sunday night when I go live on YouTube. That's all I got to worry about. And I already know. I already know that it's going to be the greatest stream ever. I would never say that, although I guess I just did. But I have to, if you're a content creator and you don't think that way, then you obviously don't have a lot of faith in your own work. So you always want to go into things thinking, oh man, this is going to be the great. I went into that stream on Wednesday when I went live after Dynamite thinking, man, this is going to be the greatest stream ever. And literally the opening segment of the stream, it was all fucked up. The voice was all distorted by accident. I tried to take calls at the end. The calls wouldn't work. And by the way, I figured out what the problem was. I'm an idiot. It was a simple setting that had to be tweaked in Skype. I could have fixed the problem in 10 seconds. Of course, it took me 24 hours to figure that out. So I went from being on the highest of highs, oh, this is going to be a great stream, the greatest stream ever. And in the blink of an eye, it became the worst stream, maybe the worst stream I ever did. So you got to have faith in your own work, though. But the point is, look, a lot of wrestlers want to go out there and they want to have the best match, right? Every wrestler who goes out and performs, especially on a big stage, big pay-per-view, or a main event, right? They want to go out there and they want to have the best match of the night. They want to have the match of the year. But you never want to put any undue pressure on yourself, right? You don't want to put that kind of pressure on yourself going into something like that because the public can be vicious. The public, the internet, they can be vicious. If you tell a group of people that, oh, X is true, just to be contrarian, they'll give you every argument why Y is better than X. Because you told them that they should like X, and they're like, no, fuck you, I like Y. So now you're going into this telling, oh, this is going to be the greatest wrestling match ever, and you have all these people who are probably just chomping at the bit, waiting for this pay-per-view to be over, so they can come online and say, they lied! It was not the greatest wrestling match ever. Meanwhile, maybe these two go out there and have a pretty kick-ass match, and now it's overshadowed. It's overshadowed because you took this promotion that you were doing and you just went way over the top with it. And these guys are going to get unfairly shit on because of it. That's why Edge made the comment he did. If it were up to him, they wouldn't have promoted the match this way. And the fact that he would say that, I think, speaks volumes, and he's not wrong. It's a promotional tactic. I get that. I get it. It's a promotional tactic. But you can understand why Edge would feel that way. The man has not had a straight wrestling match in 9 years. He came back at the Royal Rumble. He had a singles match at WrestleMania, but it was, last man standing, so they went all over the building, and they had weapons and gimmicks and shit. He has not had a straight professional wrestling match in 9 years. I was curious what the date was. April 5th, 2011. Contrary to what some people would believe, the match he had with Alberto Del Rio at WrestleMania 27 was not his last match. His last match was a 10-man tag after Smackdown that Tuesday, 2 days after WrestleMania. 10-man tag, regular match. He has not had a match like that in 9 years, and now you're putting all this pressure on this guy. You're going to go out there and have the greatest wrestling match of all time. I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. Now he probably feels like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. Now on Monday night, They paraded Christian out there on TV. Christian came back. They could see him on WWE Backstage, pretty much, I think, almost every week. So they brought him in. And he was on Raw. He had Edge as the guest on the Peep Show. And Christian was complimenting his best friend. You made your big return at the Royal Rumble. And then Christian says, I got to be honest with you. I think you're running on fumes. I think you're running out of gas. I think you're running on fumes. And this is where the people in the PC, they have all the NXT people in the crowd. And it's nice that they have crowd noise, but my God, this is the point where the people were like, you still got it. You still got it. You still got... I'm not exaggerating. That's what they sounded like. You still got... It was cringe and look, you can't see. I got fucking goosebumps on my arm right now. You can't see it. That's how cringe-inducing it was. Douche chills up and down my arm. Listening to that. Those poor people sounded like they'd been standing there chanting for like 8 hours and they would rather be anywhere but the Performance Center. But even if they had all the life and energy about them, it's still cringe-inducing. You're going to start doing fan chants. Just make noise. That's all you need them to do. Just make noise. Cheer, yay, boo. What's next? We are awesome? Are they going to start chanting that next too? We are awesome? Are they going to chant what? When somebody comes out for a promo? Oh, that'd be great. You still got it. Keep the chants out of it. Okay? It does not help with these shows. It was nauseating listening to them do that. So Christian tells Edge, he goes, I didn't even think you could have the greatest match ever when we were younger. And now here you are going out there talking about how, you think we're going to have the greatest wrestling match of all time now. He was trying to psych up his buddy. He was trying to psych him up. He was trying to get him, get him to open up a little bit. He brought up Edge's mother, who passed away a few years ago. Said she was your biggest fan. She was there for all of your big matches, and I believe she'll be there again on Sunday. Watching you have the greatest wrestling match of all time. And he was basically saying, I want the real Edge to show up. And then he saw the look in his eyes, and Randy Orton popped up on the Tron, and Randy Orton was talking about Edge's redemption story is going to be over. When they're done on Sunday, the redemption story will be finished. And Edge kind of thought about it. He was kind of looking off into the distance, and he just says, no, it's not. And he dropped the mic and he walked off. I thought the segment, aside from you still got it stuff, I thought it was a good segment. I enjoyed the interplay between Edge and Christian. So I thought at least that was well done. But they've just done these men no favors with the way they've gone overboard with this tagline, and it's become the whole promotion for the show. I don't think they've done these two any favors. I don't think they've done either guy any favors. They've turned... You know what they've done? Here's the other part of it that kind of annoys me. They have taken a feud that was a really personal, heated issue. They took a blood feud. We haven't seen blood yet, but they took a blood feud. And they've turned it into a clown show. Because every time Edge does a promo or Randy Orton does a promo, Christian did it on Monday, the announcers do it, poor Samoa Joe now has to sit there and do it. They've got to work that tagline in there. It just doesn't feel genuine. And it kind of did before, right? Going into WrestleMania, it felt like they did a really good job of hyping this like a genuine issue between these two. And now it doesn't feel genuine at all. It feels like a fucking joke. It feels like a clown show. In what may be. Who talks like that? All it is just, it's some corporate bullshit buzzword now. It's all just promotion. It doesn't even have that personal feeling it had going into WrestleMania. They took that away. Now it's just a match. Took the punch right out of it. Edge and Orton are pros. I think they're going to do fine. It will not be the greatest wrestling match ever. Spoiler, sorry, it will not be the greatest wrestling match ever. It may not even be the greatest wrestling match this year. It may not even be the greatest wrestling match on Sunday. I think it probably will be, but it's not going to be the greatest wrestling match ever. But these two, I think if they can avoid running too long like they did at WrestleMania, they went about 40 minutes at WrestleMania. That match had no business being 40 minutes. I don't care what anybody says. You have your opinion. I have mine. There's no reason for that match to have dragged on as long as it did because it was already taped and they could have edited the match. They could have cut 10 minutes out of it. It would have been much better. 10, 12 minutes shorter. Great. But they just left it alone. If they could avoid that issue here, you know, maybe in front of a hot crowd, maybe a longer match would have worked, but they're in an empty building. You know, they have the fake people in the crowd, but they're in an empty building. You're going to have the greatest wrestling match ever in front of no crowd. I mean, that's another reason why this whole tagline is stupid. I've seen the theory batted around that the greatest wrestling match ever tagline was originally intended for the next Saudi Arabia show, which I think would have happened already. And they couldn't do the Saudi show, but they decided, well, we're just going to use it anyway because we have the graphics for it, and we're going to do it anyway. We'll do it on Backlash. Because in Saudi Arabia, it's greatest this, greatest that, greatest Royal Rumble. Maybe. I don't know that to be fact. Maybe it was going to originally, be used on Sweet Saudi Money. I wish they would have saved it for the next Sweet Saudi Money show and not used it for Backlash, but here we are. But if they can just avoid the issue they ran into at WrestleMania with things just dragging a little too long, I think they'll be fine. I mean, I think that, you've got people in this company who think Randy Orton is the greatest of all time. The way Ric Flair and people talk about him, there are people who think that he is the greatest of all time. Orton is quite great at what he does. But the reason I bring that up is because as far as the prediction goes, I took the long way of getting there, but as far as the prediction goes, I think Randy Orton wins this match. And that could be part of it. There's this thing that Randy Orton, he's so great. Randy Orton, he may be the greatest ever, which of course he's not. But I could see them wanting him to have that tagline where Randy Orton won the greatest wrestling match ever. The reality is, Edge does not need to win this match. If you think that Edge has to win this match, you're missing the entire point. You've missed the plot of this entire story and the way that it has been built up. Edge does not have to go in here and win in order for the story to work. He just has to hang. All he has to do is go in there for 20, 25 minutes and hang move for move, hold for hold, and just hang in there with Randy Orton and put on an excellent match. That's all he has to do, right? Isn't that the whole story? I have to prove to myself that I can still do it. It's been 9 years. I don't know if I can do it anymore. It's not about winning and losing. It's about going in there and having a great fucking match. That's the whole story. And he already won the first one. All the more reason in their eyes I could see, well, we got to give this one to Randy. Can't keep beating Randy. So I'm picking Randy Orton to be the winner in this match. I think Randy Orton is gonna go over. And look, in the end, he can pull off some cool looking RKO out of nowhere to win the whole match. There's no shame in going down to the RKO. It's one of the most over moves in the entire company. All Edge has to do is go in there and prove he still can go and hang with the big boys in the company. That's the whole story. Win or lose, it's almost irrelevant. It's all he has to do. And then he disappears until SummerSlam or and whoever his next challenger is going to be. Meanwhile, Randy Orton can lay claim, if he wins here, he can lay claim to being the next challenger to Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship. So it kind of serves another purpose here. If they want another opponent for Drew going into SummerSlam the month before SummerSlam, unless they keep the thing with Lashley going, it could be Randy Orton. Randy Orton could be next in line for a shot at the championship. He could be the next one to put over Drew McIntyre. All the more reason why he needs a win here to justify him being put in that position. I know he's Randy Orton. You could put he's like Charlotte Flair. They don't have to lose. They don't have to win. It doesn't matter. They can just put them in a championship match because of who they are. Call me old school. I believe that if you're going to be in a position to challenge for a championship, you ought to do something to earn the right to challenge for that title. A win over Edge? A win over Edge might just do that. What do we got going on here? What do we got going on here in the chat with Jordan Rupp? Thank you for the 5. Alex Ramirez, also with the Super Chat drop. Love what you do. Been a listener since your emergency sound off. The worst Raw of all time rant. What episode was that? 84? I believe that was the episode where they had the strike, the talent strike at the beginning of the show, and CM Punk put on Triple H's oversized jacket when he sat at ringside to do commentary. I believe that was the Raw that I reviewed. What a terrible show. Azo Smith, thank you for the 5. Appreciate it. Says, despite me living in Brooklyn, making my high school graduation virtual. Yeah, I feel bad for all the people who don't have a real graduation. Like high school graduation, college graduation. That's too bad. A Zoom graduation, it's not the same. Not the same thing. Mr. Solo Lock Rager, thank you for the 2. Sweet Saudi Money, greatest boogaloo of all time. Isn't it always? It's the greatest this, it's the greatest that, it's the greatest show on earth. Joe Cronin Show, shout out to Joe. Says, somebody called into his show and said, Otis will cash in Money in the Bank and become the winner of the greatest match ever and use that as his gimmick. I would kill myself. I wouldn't kill myself, but that would be pretty fucking terrible if they did that. I don't know who called in and told you that, but whoever it was, I hope you blocked their phone call. That would be awful. I was thinking about this, though. I was thinking about this, and I was talking to the PWR guys, and I'll be on PWR Primetime tomorrow on Fight TV, and we're going to talk a little bit about Backlash. And I don't know if this would upset me or if this would just make me laugh my ass off, but the idea that they've been promoting this as the greatest wrestling match of all time, just a straight match, right? One-on-one, and everyone's all kind of hyped to see a straight wrestling match. And the bell rings, and the first move of the match is Randy Orton, like, punt-kicking Edge right in the dick. And the referee immediately calls for the disqualification. I don't know. I think I would laugh. I really think I would laugh I would start my stream, and I would still be cackling with laughter. I might actually be okay with that just because it would be so fucking fantastically funny. Randy Orton would be just the ultimate troll in that situation. I might actually enjoy that more than them going 25 minutes and having a straight wrestling match. Jesse Camp, thank you for the 5. Spade Racing, someone got arrested at my high school graduation. Well, that sounds like an exciting high school graduation. It's funny you mentioned that. About a half an hour before I went live here, I looked out my window downstairs, and there were 4 cop cars outside, and they had a guy handcuffed, and they took him into the cop car, and they had his backpack, and they were looking in the backpack. I don't know what was inside. Maybe it was a bomb. Maybe it was IcoPro. I don't know. But something happened outside. Thankfully, I'm in here. I'm not out there. And Sohail, thank you again for the Super Chat update on Danny Havoc. I have not gotten any update. I mentioned his passing last week on the Sound Off on Sunday. I have not heard anything new about people have speculated about the circumstances because his wife had passed away in April. And apparently he was very despondent about that, very down to the dumps. So use your imagination as far as what may have happened there, but I've not heard anything new. I have not heard anything new. Now, missing from this pay-per-view is a match involving Seth Rollins, who has been one of the focal points of Monday Night Raw the last several weeks. There is no Seth Rollins match. In fact, none of his minions have a match on this show unless it gets added at the last minute. Remember, I am doing this live on a Friday. Very possible that they could add something new over the weekend. Just kind of go on social media and say, hey, all of a sudden, Murphy and Austin Idol, or Austin Idol, what the fuck is that guy's name? Austin Theory. Austin Idol making a shock cameo of Backlash to plug his school. Maybe they add something at the last minute. We still don't know what the kickoff match is going to be. I don't know that anybody really cares, but this card may still be incomplete. But there is no Seth Rollins. I thought maybe they would do the match with Rey Mysterio to then build to a tag team match eventually with Rey and his son. But we have no Seth Rollins match. Rollins, he has invited Rey Mysterio and his son Dominic. He has invited Rey and Dominic to come to Monday Night Raw this Monday night. He has invited the two of them to come to Raw this Monday night because he wants them to have the opportunity, I guess, to apologize to him again or whatever for the things that they've said. They had an interview segment on Raw this past Monday night. Rey was at home via satellite, or Zoom. I guess Ray zoomed into Monday Night Raw. And Ray talked about his career-threatening eye injury. He talked about the eye injury that he suffered at the hands of Seth Rollins many weeks ago. He threatened to... Now, here's the thing about this segment and why I wanted to bring it up. He threatened to give Seth Rollins a 619. Okay, now think about this. This was a potentially career-threatening, career-devastating eye injury. And here he is in this interview. He's threatening to give Seth Rollins a 619. I'm going to give it to you at the beginning of our match. I'm not going to wait until the end of the match. I'm going to give it to you at the beginning of the match. And I'm just watching this, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? This guy had his eyeball shoved into the steel steps. Blood is pouring out of his eye. He could have lost his vision. He's at home. He doesn't know if he's ever going to wrestle again. So now he comes back on TV. Seth Rollins, when I see you again, I'm going to give you the 619. Fuck the 619. Give this motherfucker the 187 for what he did to you. Man up and go and kick this guy's ass. It's not about hitting your stupid wrestling move. What is this nonsense? I'm going to give you the 619, man. I'm going to give you the 619. I'd be threatening death on this guy. I'm coming after you. I think Ray's son cut a better promo than he did. Dominic was on TV last week saying an eye for an eye. I'm waiting for Dominic to just come to Monday Night Raw and take an ice pick to Seth Rollins' eye. No, son. We don't do that. You've got to hit the 619. Really? Wow. What a devastating... Unless he's going to wear a fucking spike on his boot when he does the 619, that would be cool, right? Or what is it? What is it that hits the guy in the face? The knees? He should wear spikes on his knees. Then hit the 619. Then I'll be impressed. I'm going to hit the 619 on you. I'm going to hit the 619. If I were Seth Rollins, I would have laughed my ass off. I would have sat there. I would have been laughing through the commercial break. I'd still be there laughing. I'd still be laughing over Randy Orton punt-kicking Edge in the dick from Backlash. Who writes this stuff? Now Bruce is taking over? Bruce? I always loved that old Bobby Heenan joke from Survivor Series when he was talking about the Hart family members. Bruce Hart got in the ring. Imagine having 9 months and the best you could come up with is Bruce. Every time I hear the name Bruce, that's all I think about now. Your parents had 9 months, and the best they could come up with... Now I'm going to get hate mail from all the people named Bruce who don't realize I'm just being funny. They're going to take great offense to me saying that. But that's all I ever think about when I hear that name. Aleister Black also has no match. Makes me think maybe they'll add maybe something with him and Rollins. Him and Rollins had a match on TV a couple weeks ago that was very good. They actually had a very good match on Raw. But he has no match either. I did love that shot when the Rollins segment with Ray was over. Rollins was on headset talking to Ray via satellite. And as Rollins is sitting there just looking into the camera talking, you kind of saw him coming in from the reflection in the plexiglass, but just from out of nowhere, boom! Aleister Black came soaring in over the announce desk and tackled Seth Rollins. I thought that was great. We're also still waiting on a Street Profits Viking Raiders match. I don't know how many more weeks of competitions we're going to have. We've had axe throwing. We've had bowling. We had a decathlon on television last week. We had, what are some of the other competitions that we've had? Did they play baseball? No, they played basketball. Played basketball. Maybe they'll play horseshoes next time. Maybe they'll play gin rummy. Play goldfish. I mean, at what point is enough enough? I've not hated these segments the way I know some people have hated them, because I understand that on a 3-hour show, you've got to break up the monotony of just having matches. You want to have some funny, ha-ha entertainment segments that kind of bring out your personality. I'm okay with that. Some of the segments have not been that funny. Some of the segments I've been amused by. Some of the segments have not been all that funny. But, you got to have a little bit of variety, so I get that. I just don't know when exactly are they waiting to do this championship. I thought Backlash, and we haven't heard. Boy, it would say a lot if they added that match on the kickoff at the last minute. That would tell you right there what they think of those Raw Tag Team titles. At this point, they may as well just wait. But wait until when? You want to do it on television? You want to do it on pay-per-view? He'll probably do it on TV. And Chris Young, thank you for the $20 drop, my friend. I appreciate that very much. We had somebody in the chat mention a whole bunch of different Bruces. Bruce Almighty. That's another Bruce. Bruce Willis. How could I forget Bruce Willis? I mean, Die Hard's one of my favorite movies. Yippee-ki-yay. Bruce Jenner. Bruce Springsteen, the boss. Bruce Dickinson. Bruce Banner. Of course, the Incredible Hulk. Bruce Banner. What other famous Bruces? His cousin Brucey, he was a radio personality here in New York. I think he might be on satellite radio now. Trying to think if I know any other Bruces. I don't think so. I think those are the important ones anyway. Before we just move on to get some of your feedback to Backlash, and again, I do want to try to keep the conversation, if at all possible, to Backlash. Predictions and questions about the pay-per-view coming up on Sunday. That would be nice. That would be ideal. But let's go ahead and take some calls. I probably should have put that up on the screen before. That was my mistake. I was so wrapped up in talking about the greatest wrestling match of all time, I forgot to actually put the friggin' number up on the screen. But there it is. I'll give you guys a few seconds to come on into queue. We've already got a couple of calls. We'll take a few calls, see what you guys think. Here on a Friday afternoon, any other Bruces? Bruce Smith of the Buffalo Bills. I don't know who that is. Bruce Wayne. Oh my God, of course. Batman. How could I forget? Even more popular than Bruce Banner is Bruce Wayne. All right, let's go to the 305, and I certainly hope I have more luck than I did on Wednesday. 305?
Hi, Solomonster. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. Who am I talking to?
Anthony.
Hey, Anthony, what's going on? What is your Backlash thoughts or Backlash questions?
Honestly, I'm not gonna. My realistic rating. Could I give my rating before the show, or it defeats the purpose? Actually.
Well, I don't know why you would give a rating before a show that you haven't watched.
Honestly, I'm not getting my hopes up with the whole greatest. Honestly, them promoting this greatest wrestling match ever ruined the other matches and stuff like that. To be honest.
Well, I mean, look. I mean, like I said, I don't.
Like,
I don't
can't take the paper.
Yeah, I don't disagree. We've established that. I don't disagree that they did these guys no favors, but yeah, you want to be fair to these guys coming into the pay-per-view. They're still going to go out there. They're going to do their job. Hopefully, we'll have some good matches out of it. I don't want to go into the pay-per-view with this attitude of, well, this show is just going to suck. And I already have that burned into my brain, and no matter what happens on this show is going to suck. This show may turn out to be a pretty good show. You know, it may turn out to be better than Money in the Bank. Yeah, not everybody I know is a fan of the way they did those Money in the Bank matches. So my advice to you is just keep an open mind going into this show. 510.
Hello?
Hey, is this Sohail?
Yes, sir. How are you doing? I'm a huge fan.
I'm doing great. Thank you for all of your support.
Sir, I've been listening to your content since 2012. So I'm a huge fan.
It's a long time.
Yes, sir. So I wanted to know your opinion on several things. Now, obviously, I don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to know your opinion on the whole Braun Strowman issue. I feel like we've been having a huge Strowman issue wherein he has this hype, and then they drop the ball. And I felt like he was this monster in 2018 going against Brock and Kane, and slowly I've been ice cold, and I'm thinking who could be a prominent challenger for him. Do you think a guy like a Drew Gulak or a Daniel Bryan, a person who can be able to bump around? Or I was also thinking a person like Sheamus, because I was enjoying the whole feud that Sheamus had with who was it? The Big Show.
Yeah, I would say this. When Sheamus first came back, Braun was the Intercontinental Champion. And I thought going into WrestleMania that we were going to get Sheamus challenging Braun Strowman for the IC title. And
Right.
Sheamus had done some interviews and said, he was on the bump, that WWE show. And he said, the one title I've never
Right.
won. Now, he's never been Universal Champion, but that's a newer title. We'll forget about that for now. He goes, the one title I've never
Right.
won, and it would really complete my collection. I've won all these titles. I've been Royal Rumble winner, King of the Ring winner. I want to be the Intercontinental Champion before I retire. And I thought that was planting a seed for
Right.
WrestleMania. And I thought he should have gone to WrestleMania and beaten Braun for the IC title. And then they
Right.
just blew everything up. They gave it to Sammy, and they went in a totally different direction. I think Sheamus could be a good opponent
Right.
for Braun. Drew Gulak, I mean, come on. That's a joke. I like Drew Gulak, but the idea of Drew Gulak wrestling Braun Strowman, on what planet does Drew Gulak belong in the ring? Right? What has he done? What has he done where he deserves to be in the ring with Braun Strowman? I wouldn't do that. But yeah, Sheamus,
Right.
I could see Sheamus as an opponent for him, sure.
Right. And then I finally I was going to speak to you about there has been like these huge issues, and I feel like you haven't addressed all of them in your podcast. So I was in some way I feel like if you can go over the many issues with Paul, with Sean, because I know Sean was having this huge rant about Black Lives backstage, and I was wondering if you can please be able to go over that on Sunday. Also, the whole issues with like Leo Rush, the whole Punk and AJ issue, because Punk has been online and he's been talking shit about how AJ hasn't been open about the whole BLM.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a lot.
Yeah, look.
Yeah,
I would say this. Look, I'm not gonna get into that here, but as far as the Punk and AJ stuff, Punk and AJ, they don't like each other. There's an issue that has been there between them for a very long time. There have been stories about them going back years and years, back I think to the ROH days. There's been something there where they just don't like each other. They clearly have two different belief systems. It's like oil and water. So, I know Punk said something and it rubbed AJ the wrong way. AJ had a response, and there's really nothing more to say about it. I mean, AJ said what he said, and that's it. I don't have any issue if AJ Styles doesn't want to speak up about this or that. He's a big boy. He can talk about whatever he wants. It's not leading to a match. I don't see that being the case. So there really isn't much else to say about that. The Shawn Michaels, the Leo Rush, though. I talked about Leo Rush. I talked about him a couple weeks ago, actually, on the podcast. The Shawn Michaels thing, I don't know. I mean, that was a report that came out. It sounds a little weird that, somebody supposedly heard of some kind of argument or something. And good for him. If Shawn Michaels wants to speak up on that to people behind the scenes, then I think that's great. But it's not anything that, I'm going to get into here. 443.
Hey, Solomonster, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. My question is pertaining to the Lashley and Drew McIntyre match that's going to happen on Sunday, more the continuation of it. I think it would be the wrong move to put the title on Lashley this Sunday. But do you think that if they had him go out on TV for the next couple weeks, beat a bunch of guys, take a couple guys out, and then beat Drew on the next pay-per-view, just so Drew could win it back when the fans start to, they have, shows with the fans back in the arena, do you think that would be, a good move if they are going to put the title on Lashley?
Well, first of all, I don't know that they know when they're going to be able to have people back in the buildings. It's Florida. I mean, it's Florida. So, need I say more? Florida, they'll probably have packed buildings at 100% capacity at this point. Everything that goes on down in Florida, every weird story, I feel like every day I hear a weird story. It has some connection to the state of Florida. I don't know what's in the water down there. There's just something about the state of Florida. I kid with one of my friends who lives down there. I go, what is going on in your state? There's a reason that they call it Florida man. They don't call it Brooklyn man. They don't call it Massachusetts man, Minnesota man. They don't call it Mexico man. I mean, it's always Florida. So maybe they will. Maybe they'll have packed crowds in the next 2 months, and then everybody will get sick, and then everything will get shut down again. And then we'll all get punished. I think that if you wanted to have Lashley win the title and then drop it back to Drew, I guess my question would be, what purpose does that serve? If you put the championship on Lashley, here's a guy who they've established in storyline, has never been WWE champion before, And the last time he had a WWE Championship opportunity was 13 years ago. That was that pay-per-view match he had with John Cena that he lost. So after all of these years, you're going to put the title on Lashley and have him drop it a month later back to Drew? You could. I don't know what purpose that serves, but I suppose you could do it if you wanted to. He wouldn't even be a transitional champ. That's not even the definition of what a transitional champion. Transitional champion is somebody who will win the title from one guy to get it onto another guy. In this case, you would win it from one guy and drop it right back to that same guy. So I caught myself. I was going to call him a transitional champion, but that's not accurate. I guess you could do it. I mean, look, there's no harm in doing it if it goes right back to Drew, but I don't know, what does that really accomplish for Lashley other than being able to say, oh, he finally won it? Yeah, but then he lost it. So what does it really mean? I don't know. I just think that's being a little too cute for their own good, if that's the reason why they do it. Joshua Hughes, thank you for the $15. What do you think about how WWE is treating Sasha Banks these past few months? We're not seeing enough Sasha. I want more Sasha on TV. Sasha's very good. I've been enjoying the storyline. They're doing the slow burn. It's a little too slow for my liking because we don't get to see as much of her on TV in the ring. More Sasha on TV is never a bad thing. Magician Sapphire, thank you for the 10. Do you think The Fiend attacks Braun after his Backlash match? P.S. Don't forget about Bruce Lee. Maybe the greatest Bruce of all. I feel ashamed that I forgot Bruce Lee. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, I think we might see The Fiend, or at least hear that laugh. You know, the ooh, I sound like a ghost. I don't know why I sound like a ghost. Yeah, I think we might see it. If we don't see it on Sunday, we'll probably see it next Friday. So that is what I see happening there. Let us go to 443.
Hey, Jason, it's Kyle. How you doing?
Good, Kyle. How are you?
I'm from Baltimore again. Good. So I think you kind of already talked about a little bit about the triple threat match. I'm just looking forward to that match the most, really, on Sunday, and talk about this tag match with Bayley and Sasha that's been going on for relatively years, but the last couple of months anyway. And I'm just ready for Sasha to be by her champion. Let her be by herself and be the champ and take the title from Bayley.
Well, I think she will. Yeah,
I'm hoping for her to retain on Sunday anyway.
Yeah, once they get to that match, I mean, who knows who will win? I assume Sasha would win, but once they get beyond that, then I think they could finally branch out and just kind of go one way and Sasha goes the other way. I don't mind the story they're telling. We see Bayley in the ring more than Sasha because she's the champion. Sasha's just sort of standing there most of the time. Now that they're tag team champions, maybe that'll change a little bit. But like I said before, getting more Sasha on television is never a bad thing. So anyway,
yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Anything else before I let you go?
Just keep talking about this greatest wrestling match ever with Randy and Edge. I just still cannot buy that. I'm sure it's going to be a good match, but I mean, greatest match ever. I think that is the greatest match ever to anybody until you see it. You can't physically say it.
No, but look, I don't even think there is such a thing. Edge said this in his ESPN interview, and I agree with him actually 100%. I don't think that there is such a thing as the greatest wrestling match ever. I don't think that it exists. Everybody is going to have a different opinion of what the greatest wrestling match ever is. If I ask everybody in the chat, I want everybody in the chat right now who's joining me live, type into the chat. Don't think about it. First match that comes to mind. What in your mind is your greatest wrestling match of all time? And I guarantee you're going to get 15, 20, 25 different answers in the chat. And if anybody says Alicia Fox against Melina, you're blocked. But you're going to get 25 different answers because everybody has their own interpretation of what the greatest wrestling match of all time is. Is it Bret Hart and Steve Austin from WrestleMania 13? It's up there. It's in the conversation. Is it Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 25? Why does it have to be a WWE match? Why not a match from Japan? Why not a match from Mexico? Maybe it's Hogan Andre. WrestleMania 3 wasn't a technical masterpiece, but man, that body slam, it still lives up even today. What a moment that was. How do you grade the greatest wrestling match of all time? Are you just going based on moves? Are you going off story? Are you going off moments in the match? Or a singular moment? So Edge was bang on when he made that comment that there is no such thing as the greatest wrestling match ever. Because there's thousands of different opinions, millions of different opinions on what that would be. And you can't tell me that you have seen every single match that's ever been held in every promotion everywhere in the world. So how can you say that? How can I sit here and say that I think The Sopranos is the greatest television show of all time? Now, I might try to say that, but how can I say The Sopranos or Breaking Bad is the greatest television show of all time when I haven't seen The Wire? I keep being told, you got to watch The Wire. So how can I say this is the best when I haven't seen this? It's same logic. Same basic logic. And I know I gotta watch The Wire. I know. Is this Florida Man 813?
No, this is Elton.
Elton, okay. I saw something about Florida. I didn't know what state this call was coming from. What's going on, Elton?
This is the same guy with the CM Punk Brock Lesnar question.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. Let's keep it on Backlash. And what's your Backlash-related question?
I was shocked when Bayley and Sasha won the tag titles, so I'm hoping for the triple threat match.
Well, yeah, we are. We're getting a triple threat match on Sunday. Who do you think is going to win, though?
And the Edge and Orton match. That's the only thing I probably would watch.
All right, so you're just going to watch the Edge. So you're just going to watch the Edge and Randy Orton match after saying that you were hoping for a triple threat match with the women's tag team titles. I don't know how I reconcile that, but okay. Everyone has that one match on the show that they're looking forward to. And so I guess in that case, that's the match that Elton is looking forward to. 903.
Hello?
Hello.
Hello, Solomonster.
Who am I talking to?
This is Israel. You might remember me as Sonic Hero XD. I've commented on quite a bit of your videos.
Ah, well, it's good to hear your voice. I'm glad you're able to call in.
It was actually my first time, actually. So this is quite a treat for me.
Great. We are popping your live stream cherry here on Friday afternoon. I love it. Now what's your Backlash question?
This is mainly just talking about like the whole like greatest match ever thing, and I just think it's like so stupid and ridiculous. And like weeks ago, I was listening to Meltzer's comments, and he brought up the very good question of why would they promote this match of all matches as the greatest match ever, especially since Edge and Orton, if I recall correctly, they've had way better matches than the one that I would assume they would probably have on Sunday. The one that comes to mind was the Vengeance match that they had in 2004.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's just a promotional tactic. Look, there could be something to this belief that some people have that it was a tagline they were going to use, I don't know, for this match or a different match in Saudi Arabia, and they didn't do the Saudi Arabia show, and they're like, yeah, you know what, we'll just use it. We'll just use it for this show instead. It's purely a promotional tactic to get people talking about the match. And I guess they think that it might get more people to watch Backlash. I cannot see this groundswell of new subscribers to their network just because of this stupid promotion. But that's the only reason they're doing it. Nobody honestly believes that this is going to be, maybe a great match, but, like I just got done saying, there is no such thing as the greatest wrestling match ever. It's just them trying to promote a pay-per-view match.
Yeah, when I first heard about like the tagline, and I was just like questioning like why on earth they would like promote this. And then when I heard about the Saudi stuff, I'm like, oh, so that makes sense, because during that first Saudi show, it was called the Greatest Royal Rumble, which was not the Greatest Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and we haven't seen Braun Strowman defend. We haven't seen Braun Strowman. He's got the big blue belt now. Where's his big green belt that he won? Didn't he win the Greatest Royal Rumble? He never defends it. I never see him holding it. He never talks about it. What's up with that?
And then he had that trophy that like broke like the night after the show.
Yeah, well, it just goes to show you what all that stuff really means.
And also, I feel like I kind of noticed this, but I feel like now we're starting to enter a phase. Like this is probably going to be the year of the taglines. Because WrestleMania, it was too big for
the year of
one
the
night.
tagline. Have you been watching WWE for the last 5 years? They every other month they have some stupid tagline. They do this every year.
You make a fair point.
This whole company.
But I just feel like now it's
This whole company is just one giant tagline, one giant WWE Universe greatest wrestling match ever. What was the last stupid one? I forgot what the last one was that they did. But that's all it is. It's corporate buzzwords and slogans. That's why nothing ever feels organic and genuine. Because it's all pre-made, right? So it just doesn't have that feeling. Like Edge and Orton should feel like a real personal issue, like it did going into WrestleMania. And it's like I said before, it's like a clown show. It's like right out of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, the greatest show on earth. Oh, we're going to give you the greatest wrestling match of all time. I guess Vince McMahon is supposed to be P.T. Barnum. In many ways, he is like P.T. Barnum. Was P.T. Barnum out of touch too? Because then they have a lot more in common. Let's go to Connecticut. 203.
Hey, what's up, Solomonster?
Is this Titan Tower? Are you calling from Titan Tower?
I live very close to Titan Tower.
Okay.
Probably about 20 minutes away.
All right. Well, that's the greatest tower ever.
Yeah. So I just had just a couple of thoughts. This whole stupid greatest wrestling match ever catchphrase just really pisses me off. And I'm sure as everyone else. But do you think maybe that was kind of like a missed opportunity for like the AJ and Bryan match? Maybe they could have had that match instead on Backlash rather than Friday Night SmackDown, and maybe built it towards that and give the Intercontinental title a little bit more prestige. Because Edge and Orton are two of my favorites, but I honestly think that Bryan and AJ Styles can produce a much better match any day of the week. So I just want to get your thoughts on that, and thanks for taking my call.
Oh, thanks for calling in. And you know what? That's a great idea. I was dumbfounded when I saw that they were doing the finals of this Intercontinental title tournament on television tonight. Now, I was thinking maybe I'll wait. I'll do my predictions after SmackDown because maybe there's some kind of like disputed finish and they do a rematch on Sunday. It's entirely possible that AJ and Bryan will end up in some kind of rematch on Sunday, but the fact they would do the finals on the Friday before your pay-per-view, I was just dumbfounded. I was dumbfounded by this, and hearing you mention that, maybe the timing of it would have been perfect. You have these two guys who are looked at as two of the greatest wrestlers in the company, two guys who are well-respected and well-known for their in-ring ability, wrestling over a championship that has traditionally been looked at as the workhorse title in the company. So when you think of some of the great wrestling matches in history in this company, a lot of them have been contested for the Intercontinental Championship. So you have these two guys going one-on-one for what, like I said, traditionally has been looked at as the workhorse title. And it would have been a great opportunity for them to really make the Intercontinental belt feel special by having them headline, or at least build the promotion for the show around it as if it could be one of the main events, if not the main event of the show. You're still putting a ridiculous amount of pressure. I still would not have done it. I wouldn't have done the stupid tagline to begin with, but I would have put this match on the pay-per-view, and I might have even headlined with it. But you're absolutely right. That would have been a great idea. At least then you can justify it by saying, well, they're putting all of the attention on this secondary championship because they want to really build it up and make it feel special. I think that would have been a great thing for the Intercontinental title. Would have given that title some attention. So yeah, no, I think that would have been a fine idea. And 716.
Hey, Solomonster. I'm Andre from Buffalo, New York.
Hey, Andre.
Man, I've been a big-time fan of yours since 2014. The first time I listened to you was your review of Sting when he debuted at Survivor Series for 2014.
Ah, yes.
Great podcast. I love your podcast.
Thank you.
No problem. My quick question was, and I get out your way, was I remember listening to one of your sound offs, and it was saying something about why Angle took the title off of Austin back in 2001, and you said it had a lot to do with the 9/11 and all of that. Do you think that that's maybe that may be a reason why Bobby Lashley wins the title Sunday and then lose it again to McIntyre because of what's going on in the world. And I hang up and listen to what you got to say.
Thank you. You know what? I was thinking about that, and I think that would be... Here's what I think about that. I think that if they were to put the championship on Bobby Lashley, with everything going on in the world, just because Bobby Lashley happens to be black, so we have to put the championship on him. If I'm Bobby Lashley, I'm pissed, right? If that's the logic behind doing it, I'm pissed. Because I've worked for this company now for how many years, right? I know he left, but he came back. And you finally ascended to this position. And you're wrestling for the championship. And the idea that you're going to have this promoter go, well, we gotta belt Bobby. We got to put the belt on Bobby because everything's going on. And because, you know, he looks a certain way. So here you go. Here's the WWE Championship. If I'm Bobby Lashley, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I've been working for you now for a long time. I've busted my ass. I've gone through this bullshit with Bobby's sisters. Remember Bobby Lashley's sisters? One of the all-time worst segments in Raw history that he had to be associated with. What must have been going through his head during that segment? The Bobby Lashley sisters, the stupid Lana wedding, so they can get their soap opera stuff in there. All the dumb shit that they've had this guy involved in. And now they're, trying to get people to take him more seriously. They've aligned him with MVP. There's a lot of very valid reasons to put the championship, if you wanted to, on Bobby Lashley. If I'm Lashley and I find out they're going to do this, but only because of what's going on in the world, and then in a few weeks, when things die down, we're going to take the title off and put it right back on Drew McIntyre. You know what I would say to the promoter? I would say, go fuck yourself. That's what I would say to the promoter. That's what I would say to Vince McMahon. Go fuck yourself. So if they want to put the championship on Lashley, then there's an argument to be made. He's getting a push. If MVP wants to build a little faction for himself, what better person to have as your, lead client than the WWE champion? And then you get a few other people, maybe a tag team in there. Fine. And my whole issue with the whole thing is that I just think it's too soon to take the title off Drew. It's not that I don't, I have something against the idea of Bobby Lashley being the champion. I just don't think the timing is right. But to look at it from a timing perspective in that way, I'm just saying, if I were Lashley, I would think that I would be offended by that. Put the title on me because you think, hey, you know what? It's long overdue. We should put the championship on this guy and kind of build around him as this monster on the brand, off of his merits. And not because, let's take advantage of what's going on television. Let's take advantage of, everyone's talking about cable news. So let's go ahead and, for a few weeks, we'll give him a token run as the WWE champion. If they do it, I hope that's not the reason why they do it. If they do it, I hope they do it for the right reasons. But I'm still sticking with Drew McIntyre as my prediction. I still feel like they're not ready to take that championship off of him just yet. Justin Bohannon, thank you for the 5. Got to mention Bruce Campbell. Man, I forgot all these Bruces. What's going on here? I know all of these guys. I don't know why I had a brain fart. Prince Walker, thank you for the 5. And he's very excited that New Japan is coming back, as I think many of us are. Joshua Hughes, dropping some Super Chat love. Also mentioning Edge and Orton from Vengeance in 2004. I might have to go back and watch that match. I don't remember how it went. I don't remember it being that great, but it's been so long since I've watched it. Sohail, thank you. Jackalope Music, popping his head in. CJ LaChapelle says, watch The Good Doctor. Why should I watch The Good Doctor? I saw a commercial for it on TV the other day. It's on ABC, right? They had a commercial for The Good Doctor. And I think it was an episode. I was watching Shark Tank. I have the last 5 episodes from last season on the DVR. So I don't know when this episode aired, but they were showing a commercial for The Good Doctor. And the whole premise of the episode was the good doctor, I guess, makes a diagnosis on this patient, and this lady either dies or something catastrophic happens to her. And then they go, the good doctor. And I'm like, what's so good about him? He just killed this fucking woman. I'd rather take my chances with Doogie Howser. Doesn't seem like a very good doctor to me. Jackalope Music, thank you for the 5 on the subject of title. Should AEW preserve one title for traditionalists and the other be all-inclusive? No. No, there's no need to overcomplicate things. They just introduced a new title. We don't need more titles. We don't need some special designation for one title that... no. Let's not overcomplicate things. The way things are set up right now, I think, is fine. I think the way... Now, once they get their second television show, which I don't know what's going on with that. They signed that new deal with TNT. They're supposed to have 2 TV shows now. We haven't heard anything about it. I assume the pandemic put those plans on hold. When we get to that point, if they wanted to have something specific to that show, maybe. But the way the titles are set up right now, I think is fine. In Spanish Scottish, I heard a rumor AEW is interested in Ricky Starks. Also, I hope someone like Matt Sydal signs with AEW. Yeah, Ricky Starks is a talented guy. I enjoyed watching Ricky Starks in NWA. I was surprised, disappointed when I heard that, I guess, his contract ran out. They couldn't come to an agreement. But he could land somewhere else. He's not a physically big guy. So my fear is if he were to go to a WWE, he just gets lumped in with the 205 Live guys. He's got charisma. He's got personality. I love his promos. There's something about his promos. I love listening to him talk. So Ricky Starks is somebody I think a lot of people have slept on. Hopefully he'll land somewhere, whether it's AEW, wherever it may be. He'll get some television time and hopefully we'll do well. Because he deserves to. He's a very talented guy. He was one of the guys I enjoyed watching on that NWA Power Show. Ricky Starks. So, actually, Ricky Starks, now that I think about it, what the hell was I watching? There was something last year. Undertaker was sitting with a couple of independent wrestlers. I don't know where he was, what event he may have been at, if he was overseas doing some kind of signing or something. But there's video on YouTube of The Undertaker sitting at a table or whatever, and he's just conversing with these 2 independent guys, giving them advice. And one of them is Ricky Starks. This is before the NWA stuff. So I just wish I knew what that was from and where he was and why he was there. I don't recall offhand, but anyway. So, Sunday. You're getting a double dose of the sound off on Sunday because I'm going to be dropping the usual podcast, episode 656. You see on the bottom of your screen all those platforms. That's where you can find the full episodes. I feel like there are people who come to the channel who don't realize that I do a full podcast every single week. Usually it's at least 2.5 hours long, covering all the news of the week, RSPW Rewind, Q&A like I did just now. So on 656 this Sunday, I'm going to have a lot to say about this big creative shakeup behind the scenes in WWE with Pritchard and Heyman. I'll have a lot more to say on that. New Japan is coming back next week. New Japan is resuming shows in less than a week. I'll talk about that on Sunday and a whole lot more. And again, don't forget that on Sunday night, we still got Super Chats coming in, but on Sunday night, there's the Disgusted Brandy Rhodes. Jared Jackson just donated $2 to Disgust Brandy Rhodes. How many cop-out finishes will occur at Backlash? My money's on at least 2. I could be undershooting that though, but I'm gonna say probably 2. But yes, the Big 3 Belt Bash. It only cost $1. Go to WrestleRumble.com. You can enter right now. There'll be a random drawing hosted by yours truly, live right here on YouTube Sunday night during the Backlash recap. Those 3 belts you see on your screen right now, ECW World Title, Big Gold WCW belt, and the WWE Classic Winged Eagle Championship, all of them are up for grabs. It is winner take all. You can win all 3, and it can only cost you $1, unless you want to put more than one entry in. You can up your chances. But I do hope you'll tune in Sunday night as soon as Backlash goes off the air. I will be with you to go through all of the events of the show. Good, bad, and ugly. Greatest wrestling match ever. We'll see. We'll see about that. Joshua Hughes, thank you for the $10. One more super chat. Masked Kane or unmasked Kane? Buy or sell? Oh, come on. Come on. Are you really asking me this question? Masked Kane all the way. Original Kane, 1997, and 2000 Kane. When he came back early in 2000, he was a freaking beast. That actually might be my favorite incarnation of Kane. The Kane that came back in like February, I think it was, of 2000. The way he just looked like he was etched out of granite. He looked like a wall. You couldn't go through this guy. And the attire and everything, the colors, still had the old mask. That might be my favorite all-time version of Kane. No disrespect to the 2003 one with the black towel that he was wearing on the head. That was right after he got unmasked. He was pretty cool also. But yes, I'm definitely buying on the original Kane. All right, guys. I think this was good. This was fun. I'm so glad that you could take some time out of your afternoon to join me live. Hopefully you were entertained. You were sports entertained. Tonight is SmackDown. We'll see how this Sheamus Jeff Hardy angle goes. I'm looking forward to AJ and Bryan. Talking about the greatest wrestling match ever. This could be the greatest wrestling match of the week, of the month, maybe the year. Should be a good one, though. AJ and Bryan. Be very hard, I think, for the two of them to not have a good professional wrestling match. Sunday, 6:56, Sunday night. And that's it. That's all I got for you. So until next time, be well, stay safe, and I will see you back here live again on the YouTube channel on Sunday night. Peace out. Take care, guys.